And we're back with our Let's Play of the Riven Remake. Last time we linked to 233 and trapped Ghen in a book. Mission accomplished, I suppose. And now we're reading another journal of his. Now let's see, 86, 9, 29, I believe. Yeah. I start this latest journal of astounding news. Catherine has returned to the Fifth Age. And though it sets my teeth on edge to say it, she has also vanished as quickly as she appeared, stolen from me by the rebels. As my guard tells it, she's linked into the Fisher Plateau cage, just as I surmised, when suddenly he was set upon by a band of rebels who darted him and spirited her away. I suspect the truth of the matter was that he was so dumbfounded at actually witnessing someone link in after all this time that he presented an easy target for whichever rebel happened to be nearby. The damnable luck of it. He did get a good enough look at her, though, to verify that it was indeed Catherine. He also claims that he inspected all her belongings and found no linking book on her person. A fact that I find hard to believe. But if true, it makes the question of why she's returned here all the more puzzling. While I am sick of frustration at having lost the only quarry that Cade has ever caught, I'm also filled with hope, as she may yet provide me with a way back to the knee. It's true that I have managed, despite an overwhelming odds, to break free of the confines of the Fifth Age and resume my mission to save my culture from extinction. But I fear that unless I am able to regain access to the vast resources that lie in the city's ruins, the task of resurrecting that great civilization will be impossible. If Catherine did bring a linking book with her, then I am halfway there. If not, then she is trapped in the Fifth Age, and I can only assume that my emotionally crippled son, Christ, will soon be along to rescue her. Is he emotionally crippled, or are you just a sociopath? My money's on sociopath. Either way, it's crucial to my plans that I find her soon. Her presence here now forces me to take the rebels more seriously. I should never have permitted them to survive this long. Oh boy. 86, 10, 5. Once again, the Great Wark has demonstrated its usefulness to me. The villagers have been difficult to manage in the wake of Catherine's arrival, and their fear of this mythic beast has been all that's kept them in line. Had I known how truly useful these prodigious creatures would prove to be, I would have captured more of them while the local population was still plentiful. Although, to be sure, if these disturbances continue, my current pets will be in no danger of perishing for lack of nourishment. Fuck you again. 86, 10, 13. The search for Catherine continues. I deeply regret my mistake of having ever taught these primitive people anything at all about the books. It seems that with each passing day I more sorely realize the extent to which they were not ready for that knowledge, not even in the simplified manner in which I present it to them. Their minds, adapted only to the exceptionally menial task of village life, were incapable of comprehending the art and all its complexity, and were thus unable to glean any of the underlying principles that are, ironically, so elegantly simple. Then why do you suck at it so much? It's obvious that so much of the discord that exists between us stems from their failure to grasp the meaning of the information I gave them. No, I think it's because you're feeding them to fish. If they had been able to gain even the smallest glimpse of the glorious future I had planned for them, this conflict would not exist. The minds of the children, however, are much more malleable. With the proper tutelage, they have developed a more appropriate posture towards the culture that has given them their lives. I believe you mean indoctrinatable as opposed to malleable. You cult leader. At times they take to it like almost as if they had a bit of Dunny blood in them. Given the natives' inborn limitations, however, Christ, I'm quite careful that none of them gain a level of understanding that would permit them to sin against their future the way that Catherine did. How foolish I was to think that she could wield such knowledge responsibly when it was quite clear that my son could not. Atris. Still, he remains one of the greatest disappointments of my life. Yeah, shut up. I should never have left him with my mother. By the time I returned for him, he'd already been poisoned as to all thoughts of aiding me in my noble mission. No, I think he was poisoned by how you proceeded with your noble mission. From what I recall, he wrote better than you, like learned the grammar and syntax as opposed to just copy and pasting bits of notes from different books, scavenged apart or whatever. And he made an age that was a replica of his home back on the surface. And you burned it, because it was better than anything you could ever do. You goddamn sociopath. Egomaniac, even. Christ. Perhaps that was the only way she could soften the fact that she had been responsible for the collapse of the entire civilization. So much destruction, so many great lives lost. The guilt must have been unbearable. I also heard of that. From Atris, I suppose. The Great Fall of Dunny. Grandmother Anna wandered into the caverns from the surface. While they were debating whether or not to visit the surface at all. The construction project was on hold because of geothermal activity. Then she showed up. Married one of the Dunny, had Ghen. And there was a rift driven between the civilization of those who wanted to learn and those who were frickin' pricks. And two of the biggest pricks, Agaris and Viovis, were so inflamed by the mere fact of some other minority showing up in their city that they gassed the old chamber. The entire great cavern, wrapped in fumes of death. Because they just couldn't conceive of someone other than them, having ideas. Bloody hell. If the rot was that severely placed in it, honestly, I think the fall of that city was a blessing. Jesus Christ. Jiminy Christmas, all of that. Whatever. Past is the past. She did seem to love my father and our world, but ultimately she was an outsider whose ignorance of the Dani became the catalyst for their demise. She was the catalyst, not the source. If I am able to rebuild our culture and in the process correct such weaknesses, then perhaps what she did was ultimately necessary in order that a new and stronger era of prosperity might someday come to pass. I trust Atris with that task more than you. 8714. I have been increasingly beset by images from the past these last few weeks. As I stood in the schoolroom today, I was reminded of my own childhood. The years I spent in the Bookmakers Guild, Father's immense pride at each of my small accomplishments there. He was an important man in the Dunny world, but I cannot bear to think of him for long. It's too much. I was too young to see such things. 8728. I have her. Late last night, I received word that Catherine had been apprehended while attempting to persuade some of the villagers to join her. Lost a few men in the process, but I would have gladly paid 100 times that number for such a prize. She's been imprisoned in my old office, where I've been attempting to gain some insight as to the reason of her return. I've had to fight the all but constant impulse to put her on the gallows, as she has adopted the most infuriating stance of only answering my questions, when she answers them at all, in her native tongue. I'm sorry, you've been on Riven for 30 years and you never bothered to learn how to speak Rivenese. Jiminy Christmas, this guy's a mess. Even so, she's a poor liar. I am now certain that her return to Riven was unintentional, and that she brought no linking book with her. As far as her willingness to share with me the location of the mighty, we shall see. Without their leader, however, they are once again powerless against me. If Catherine's coming here was indeed an accident, then Atris is bound to come for her. That's a given. The question I must now consider is, how will he attempt it? It is likely that his hesitation is due at least in part to this dilemma. One way or another, though, he'll have to bring a linking book back to get back. There is no other way. 87-6-20. It's late, and I cannot sleep. I've lost so much in my life. My people, my father, my son, and you, my wife, Kida. You're the only true kindness I've ever known. Watching you flicker there in the imager, I sometimes wonder if you are real. If I could restore your life with my pen, I would do so in an instant, and leave the rest of this world to their own wretched fate. Ghen, you're a monster, but you're a broken monster. I pity you, but I do not forgive you. 87-7-30. Damn these savages. I would be well advised to leave them all into 5th Age and begin again with a clean sheet of paper. A stranger has arrived in Riven, with a linking book to the knee. And once again, my useless minion was overtaken by the rebels. From what little I could decipher of his muddled explanation, it apparently occurred sometime this morning. The cage mechanism has been damaged, but that's no matter. Everything I need is here now. Atris is certainly behind this. But why would he send someone else in his stead, and with a linking book no less? Surely he would have guessed that I would be waiting for him. Such recklessness is unlike him. Could it be as he had a change of heart toward me? That after all these years he's finally decided to let his poor old father go? I know all too well where his loyalties lie. He's only after one thing. Perhaps this stranger would find her. For now, I only need to wait and observe. I'm beginning to think it was a mistake to allow the stranger to roam freely about the islands in their ignorant probing. They've attempted to power the damaged drawbridge from Temple Island, and the entire bridge collapsed. Apologies for that. A trivial loss at this point, but it irks me all the same. Had I not yet managed to free myself from that crumbling age, it would have hampered my progress severely. But again, it's no matter now. The day will come soon when I will be done with Riven forever. 87-7-6. Disconcerting news. Last night a group of maintainers happened upon a lone rebel scout, and were able to engage him long enough to learn of a most implausible device. A crystal window supposedly capable of mending my linking books. Much the way that my own remarkable system does. Sure. With one slight advantage. It is small and weighs only a few pounds, making it entirely portable. If this outlandish claim is true, then the artifact in question must be something that Catherine fabricated prior to her capture. No doubt from an explicit Dunny schematic she brought with her. Oh, barf. If it's not Dunny, it's not real, says the guy who sucks at even doing Dunny stuff. If only I'd had access to such a document all these years. God help us if you did. The portent of this revelation is deeply troubling. Some years ago, the rebels managed to abscond with a dysfunctional linking book I'd intended to destroy. The book was never discovered. Once they had sufficiently atoned for this sacrilege, I gracelessly decided to let the matter slide, thinking that in their inept hands it could do me no harm. But if Catherine has indeed empowered them with such a device, the rebels may have linked to another age. It also means that 233 is no longer safe. This cannot stand. The stranger is the key to all of this. Tracking their movements is giving me a good idea where this rebel linking book and the crystal may be hidden. But before I can deal with that, I must secure the linking book back to the knee. Everything hinges upon that. If I can regain access to my arsenal of resources, I will happily leave the old of Riven to its own dismal future. Well, fuck you too. Oh. Imager codes. Kata, 5, Father, 23, Anna, 235. Wait, your mother's named Anna. You're not even giving her... acknowledging that she's your mother. We'll be back next time.